clicking the YouTube button. Let's freaking go. We're hitting the tweet button. We're hitting all of the buttons because today we are going to be learning how to create better thumbnails for YouTube, because thumbnails are the most important factor in your success on YouTube. I've done a live stream with Broadband TV about this before, and I want to bring you guys the most important and pertinent information about how to create the best thumbnails for YouTube possible, because thumbnails will determine your success or not on the platform. Why? We've talked about this before. I did an entire stream about the YouTube algorithm before, how click-through rate is the single most important statistic out there on YouTube, and if you don't have a high click-through rate, then you are not going to be successful on the platform. So we're going to be talking about how to get that click-through rate up, and what attributes your thumbnails need to have, and what kind of best practices you can have in order to reach the success that you're looking for with your YouTube channel. Correcting your thumbnails, improving your thumbnails is the #1 way to get there. And if you guys haven't already, if you're not already familiar with me, my name's Andrew Wall. Hi. Good to see you. I'm the co-founder of the #1 YouTube gaming network. I've produced with my team over 5,000 videos on YouTube that have gotten over 1 billion views. I'm YouTube certified, and I've been helping creators become successful for a living for the last 7 years. And I'm here to help you, and I've gone through so many conversations about thumbnails with my team and with other people, advising top media companies all the way down to YouTubers that are just getting started on thumbnails. And the bottom line is there are a number of attributes that you can focus on that are going to increase your clicks, that you can use as a philosophy and guiding principles to increase your performance on YouTube moving forward. Off Grid with Doug and Stacy are here. Good to see you. 1 million subs, no vids is here. Awesome remix by George is here. Relia is here. Let's freaking go. It's thumbnail time, my friends. So, first things first, why are thumbnails so critically important? Certainly the algorithm is a huge factor, but viewers are going to make a decision as to whether they click your video in less than 2 seconds. So that's something that's really, really important for you guys to take into consideration. You have less than 2 seconds, especially if somebody is taking a look at your content on mobile. The experience is even more thumbnail centric on mobile than it is on desktop, where your title is barely viewable and different viewers are only going to look at that thumbnail. I mean, just look at how much real estate the thumbnail is taking up on mobile, right? The thumbnail is 80% of the real estate or more on mobile, and so this is going to be critically important to improve your thumbnail as well. But we're also going to be talking about those thumbnail title combos and how they can complement each other. And like we mentioned earlier, a high click-through rate is going to trigger the YouTube algorithm so that your channel can grow. The higher that click-through rate is, the better your content is going to perform, and so that's something that we're going to talk about right now. And so before we get into all of these principles, I'd like to quickly give credit to the mastermind himself. His name is Jonathan Moxness. I'm going to attempt to link Jonathan Moxness's LinkedIn here. YouTube hates it when I link LinkedIn, but I'm going to try to link it here as well, and it's just not letting me link it on YouTube. But Jonathan Moxness is the guy that I work with that came up with the majority of these thumbnail principles. I helped give him feedback on it, but Jonathan Moxness is the man. He is the thumbnail master that is behind our thumbnail strategy at Broadband TV. We've presented this on the Broadband TV official YouTube channel, and we've gone through a lot of these principles here. This is a live stream that John and I did together, so I'd like to give him credit for a lot of the thinking and a lot of the philosophy behind this. And if you guys want to check out that full-blown hour-and-a-half live stream right here, this is a thumbnail deep dive. I'm going to link that to you before we get into it, okay? So let's get into the principles themselves. That's the thumbnail deep dive there. Summer just joined on Periscope. It's great to see you as well. So what makes for a great thumbnail? What do you need to do to create an incredible thumbnail? All right, first things first, you obviously need to make them click, obviously. So you're gonna be like, well, okay, that's great. But make them click is the first step that you need to think about with all of your thumbnails. And this might seem obvious, but making people click is not bad. So a lot of people, there's a bad word out there I'm gonna write it down here on the board. I'm sure you know the bad word I'm thinking about, and that bad word is clickbait. And a lot of people think that making people click and clickbait are the same thing. And I'd like to tell you that that is not necessarily the case. And I kind of want to make a distinction between making people click and clickbait, because it is okay to actively be trying to make people click your videos. You have to do that to be successful on YouTube. And so what I consider to be clickbait are basically things where you're falsely representing your content. You're putting things in your thumbnail that don't actually exist. You are maybe putting in like a woman with her boobs pushed in so that people click for the boobs. Maybe you are showing something that happened in your video, in your thumbnail, that didn't actually happen. I consider those deceptive practices to be clickbait. Making people click is a whole nother thing. And so if you want to call that clickbait, you can call that clickbait. But getting clicks is critically important, and it is something that you need to embrace on YouTube. And so that's the number one thing that you need to remember with your philosophy when you're creating your thumbnail. Would you click that thumbnail? Would you? Because if you wouldn't click that thumbnail, then how could you reasonably expect someone else to want to click that thumbnail? And so let me show you a few examples of people that very, very effectively think about getting people to click thumbnails. And one of those things, one of those channels, of course, is AliA. And he creates incredibly intriguing thumbnails. And I keep bringing up AliA as an example because he has some of the best thumbnails in the history of YouTube. And that's why his videos are getting 1.7 to 5 million views per video on the regular. So he is constantly thinking about how you can make people click. When he created this thumbnail, a new Fortnite item, ... And then there is a balloon right here. And he's like, huh? People say, you know, that's clickbait. It's destroying YouTube. Well, you know what he's thinking about? He's thinking about making people click that video because he knows he's competing against 2.2 million streamers. He knows he's competing for the #1 trend on YouTube. And so he's thinking maximum clickability with his thumbnails every time he's creating every single thumbnail. And that is absolutely critical as a part of your philosophy. But there are 11 principles that we're going to go over that Jonathan Moxness came up with that I want you guys to embrace because all of them are important and all of them are critical for success. So the second principle is, and this one's great. I really like this one that John came up with. It's why, not what. All right? Why, not what. And so what do I mean by that? So when you're looking at a thumbnail on YouTube, people should be, and by the way, who all's in chat right now? Let me see you guys speak up. Big Red, it's good to see you. It's wonderful to see you. But you should be asking why, not what, when you see a thumbnail. So when you see something in a thumbnail, and you see an element, let's say there's 2 elements in the thumbnail, and I'm gonna make a very simple thumbnail here for this example. You have element 1 and element 2. As a viewer, you should never be wondering what either of these elements are in the thumbnail. You shouldn't wonder what number 2 is or number 1 is. It should always be clear what that is. And so when you talk about thumbnails that are too busy, thumbnails that have too many elements, when you start adding in element number 3, element number 4, element number 5, element number 6 into thumbnails, viewers are going to look at those thumbnails and they're going to go, hold on, what is that? What is that? What is that? I can't tell, I literally cannot tell what that is. And so that's something that is critically important to think about when you're creating your thumbnail. And so that's why best practices like having less elements in your thumbnail or having very clear, high contrast and high saturation elements in your thumbnail are incredibly important because the viewer, you have less than 2 seconds for the viewer to look at your thumbnail and to decide whether they're gonna click it or not. If they can't tell what's in your thumbnail, obviously they aren't gonna click. Now, why is really, really important. Why is something that can be intriguing and can add extra value to your thumbnail and can add extra clickability to your thumbnail. So Matt CS, it's good to see you. Jimmy, it's good to see you as well in Periscope chat. Thank you for joining. Evil Laugh Gaming is listening to this live stream on their commute. Wonderful to see you. Havoc to your face is going to be getting a channel review later on in this stream, so I'm really looking forward to that. So we're going to be doing a channel review in the second half of the stream. I'm really looking forward to that. But asking why something is in the thumbnail can create intrigue and can create extra clickability. So for example, we'll go back to this AliA thumbnail we just showed a moment ago. Why is this random dude with a red balloon in this thumbnail? You're asking yourself, why is that in the thumbnail? It's a new Fortnite item? Really? Why is that there? That is incredibly intriguing, and so therefore you are potentially going to click and ask why. But you're not asking, what is this element right here? You can clearly see it, it is a red balloon. So why, not what, is incredibly important for you to make a successful thumbnail on YouTube. This will increase your views, this will make you more successful on YouTube, okay? And so the third principle here, and I'm gonna show you an example of someone who's successful with breaking this rule, but there's also, and I break this rule all the time, but generally speaking, hold on really quick, we have a couple comments here from you guys in chat. Relia saying, you like the idea of clickable thumbnails, but it has to be appealing. Sure, but really you're just trying to get that click and accurately represent what the content is. AliA gets so much hate though. AliA does get a lot of hate for his thumbnails, and the reason why he gets hate is because he's better than you at making thumbnails. And people don't like that his videos are destroying their videos. You know why his videos are getting more views than other people's videos? Because he's better than them at YouTube. People can hate it, they can talk smack about clickbait, but the bottom line is AliA is better than you at YouTube, and that's why AliA is getting more views than you. I've talked about this so many times. YouTube is a battle to the death for attention with viewers. And if you are not considering it as a battle, with your videos battling against other people's videos, every single video that you release, you are going to lose those battles. AliA clearly takes his YouTube game very seriously, and he realizes that he is in the most competitive space in all of YouTube. And so that's why he makes his thumbnails maximum clickability. Because if he wasn't doing that, someone else would, and they would be taking those views away from him. You have to think about thumbnails in terms of competition. It's not about creating something that's, you know, looks good and follows traditional design principles and is the finest red wine of design and it is just perfectly executed. That's not what gets freaking clicks, okay? So let's talk about don't repeat the title. And this is something that I violate. This is a rule I break regularly, but if you can help it, you don't want to repeat your title. So let me show you some of the thumbnails on YouTube. Why don't you want to repeat your title? And so the reason why is that there are two different opportunities for you to get a click on YouTube. Opportunity number one is your thumbnail, and opportunity number two is your title. And if you can help it, you want to have a complementary thumbnail and title and use both of those fields independently to generate a click on your content. There are some exceptions to this rule I'll talk about in a moment. I make exceptions regularly. I think that there can be exceptions, but if you look at this thumbnail, it says a new map, and it has Lucio, a character in this game, looking up at what that map may be. And then the title says 10 lore maps we want in Overwatch. So there are two layers of clickability here. A new map is intriguing. You're asking, why is this statue of Jesus or whatever right here in the thumbnail? Not what is that statue of Jesus. And it's a level of clickability here. It's new. And then when you look further into the title, it clarifies a little bit deeper what it is that the video is about. So it's a part of that triple hook I'm constantly telling you guys about. Hook through the thumbnail, do a complimentary title for the second hook, and then as soon as you click the video, there's a third hook with the tease as soon as the video starts. So don't repeat the title is generally a good rule. Now, there are some channels, including mine, that break this rule regularly, and are successful. And so let me talk about that. See these thumbnails? These thumbnails on Young Yeah's channel say literally the title twice. Why is it successful? Why is this content getting clicks? Why is this working for him and not necessarily working for other people? And so the reason why, and so there can be some exceptions to this rule, if your content is all about education and learning, there can be some exceptions where education and learning content I've seen can repeat the title in the thumbnail and be effective. And that's why I repeat my titles in my thumbnails, is because if people click a piece of learning content, they want to learn something about YouTube, they want to learn something about, in this case, video games, they want to learn something about the news, repeating the same information twice can give it a level of credibility. If you're all about no BS, if you're all about delivering the facts, then just putting exactly what the video is in the title, in the thumbnail, and exactly what it is in the title as well can be advantageous for you so that people can clearly see that there's no BS here. It is literally what I'm saying in the thumbnail, what I'm saying in the title, and you get that double validation as to what the content is going to be about. Generally speaking, I don't think this is a good idea, but if you're doing matter-of-fact, no BS learning content, this strategy can work. Rebax, it's great to see you in chat as well. Who all is joining here that hasn't spoken up in chat? I'd love to see you guys in chat. Here's a question from Relia in chat about thumbnails. So we are 3 rules out of 11 deep into how to make effective thumbnails. So generally speaking, you don't want to repeat the title if you can help it. That's rule number 3. Don't repeat the title. All right. So here's a comment from Relia saying, if something is shaded out with a question mark over it, is that a bad thing? Okay, that's a good question a moment ago. So that's a part of the why, not what concept. So like, there are examples out there of shading over something and not showing it that can generate more clicks and more views. So let me pull up an example of what he's talking about. So let me grab a YouTube video of that and I'll show you precisely what it is. So we can say like top Pokemon, I think is a term that has these kinds of thumbnails. Let me see if I can find an example for you. Here you go. Here's a top Pokemon, and this is from one of my patrons. Pretty cool stuff. So let me pull up this example. Nope. And it looks like the thumbnail is a little bit obstructed there. So let's see, top 10, here we go. Top 10 shiny Pokemon. I'm gonna show you exactly what he's talking about, where you obstruct an element of a thumbnail in order to get more clicks. So here you go. Here's an example right above my head. Top 10 shiny legendary Pokemon. This is a thumbnail from one of my patrons, one of the patrons I'm coaching at the $150 level. He created a thumbnail here. I helped him create this thumbnail. And this thumbnail has 2 Pokemon in it. It shows 1 Pokemon here, and then it has 1 obstructed with a question mark there. And so how does this tie into the why, not what question? And the reason why I like the question mark in this thumbnail, you are asking what Pokemon is that? But in this case, you're not wondering whether it is a Pokemon or not. You know what I mean? So like, if this was some like weird oogly googly moogly shape here, and you couldn't tell, literally you couldn't tell what that was, like you couldn't tell that there is a Pokemon behind this question mark, then it would violate the why not what rule. But in this case, you know, because there's already 1 Pokemon here, and then there's a second Pokemon obviously right here. You're not asking what is behind that question mark, like you know it's a Pokemon, but you're asking specifically what Pokemon is that. So that increases the intrigue of the thumbnail. You're not asking what is the nature of that item. If it was some weird blurred out thing that you couldn't tell the shape of it or whatever, then that would be a bad why not what example. So it is okay to black out something, leave a clear outline. Notice how he has a white outline around the black here to make it stand out from the thumbnail. It is obvious that this is a Pokemon, not to mention the title of the video is Top 10 Shiny Legendary Pokemon. So it's very clear that the audience doesn't ask themselves, what is that? Clearly it's a freaking shiny Pokemon, but you're not asking what is it, you're asking which Pokemon is it? Cool, increased clickability. So hopefully that answers that question for you. Cool? So you can obstruct things in your thumbnail and add a question mark to it or whatever, or a circle arrow to it to draw attention to it. You know, speaking of which, let's talk about circle arrows. So circle arrows are something that I use circle arrows all the time on my thumbnails. Jimmy says, I don't have a YouTube channel, you're just interested in how YouTube works, etc. Fantastic, you're in the right place. I've obsessed over how YouTube works for years, so it's great to see you. So here's the next one. Have a singular focus. This one's really, really important. You want to have one focus in your thumbnail. And so that's why things like circle arrows are so popular on YouTube. So people will circle one element, I'm gonna circle myself in this example, and draw an arrow over to it to draw a singular focus to one element of a thumbnail. You have less than 2 seconds to get somebody to pay attention to your thumbnail. So if you are going to have that time, what is the most interesting element of that thumbnail? Which is the most important part that you want to emphasize in that thumbnail? If it is difficult to make that singular element stand out, it is okay to use something like a circle. It is okay to use something like an arrow. It is not scumbag to do that. People are like, it's clickbait, it's ruining YouTube, it's blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. It's drawing people's attention to things. People pay attention when things are circled. People pay attention when things have an arrow pointed to it. So it's okay to do those things on YouTube. Let me show you some good examples of people using circle arrows effectively and in a non-scumbag way, okay? And I'll pull up like, I think there's probably a TGN example. Cool. So here's a TGN example right here. We have a couple circle arrow thumbnails, and these are not scumbag circle arrow thumbnails. These are literally contributing to the value of the video and the increase of clickability on the video. Tom Nash is here in chat, everybody. Tom Nash is the man. YouTube expert Tom Nash is in chat. Everybody, Tom Nash, YouTube expert. You should be subscribing to his channel if you haven't already. His name is Tom Nash. He is a YouTube expert. Have I told you about Tom Nash, the YouTube expert, that you should be subscribing to already? Here is Tom Nash right here. This is Tom Nash's YouTube channel. I'm gonna link it in chat right now to all chats. Tom Nash. He's got videos all the time telling you about how you can succeed on YouTube. Subscribe to Tom Nash. Anyway, let's talk about that circle arrow thumbnail. So here's a non-scumbag circle arrow thumbnail that we created for TGN that Jonathan Moxness and the team created. And Nancy, who's also on our team, created. And here is, I think that the circle arrow here is in play. So this is top 10 secrets that we found on the new Overwatch Busan, I think is the name, how you pronounce it, map. This is a video literally about secret things. This video right here, it's literally about secret things. It's about finding things that are small that you may have missed. And so when we put a circle arrow thumbnail here, that is not a scumbag thumbnail. That is not deceptive. That is not ruining YouTube, in my opinion. I think that the circle thumbnail, I think the circle arrow thumbnail is 100% in play. How are we going to show, what is the best way to communicate that you found secrets in something? And the best way to do it is to show that you picked out a small thing out of something larger. And a great way to do that is to circle it and to point an arrow and to kind of highlight it here in the thumbnail, which is what we've done. So we've created a singular focus in this thumbnail, which is this secret that we found for around this piece of content. The circle arrow is in play here. The circle arrow is not scumbag. The circle arrow is not ruining YouTube. The circle arrow is good. Now, if people just add circle arrows to their thumbnails for absolutely no reason whatsoever, okay, I guess that's bad, but if they're adding it to their thumbnails for no reason whatsoever, then they probably aren't gonna have a good click-through rate. There needs to be a good reason. So circle arrows can create a singular focus for you, and they can be incredibly effective. Philip DeFranco is a great example of amazing click-through rate thumbnails. Philip DeFranco has a great thumbnail title combination. Let me pull that up right now. We'll pull up Philip DeFranco right now. I mean, I've shown his channel before as an example, but I think Philip DeFranco is a great example of not repeating your title in your thumbnail. He does that with all of his videos very, very effectively. So he's got these enticing headlines down here, and then he's got the famous faces in his thumbnails. And he's never repeating precisely the exact same information as his thumbnail in his title. They are complementary of each other, which increases clickability of his thumbnails. And he's just a great example of not repeating your title in your thumbnail. So that's one of the rules we talked about earlier. Great, let's continue because we have a channel review coming up soon for one of my patrons. So big thank you to, it's gonna pull up right here, Larry Napier, which became one of my $25 patrons. We're gonna be doing a channel review after I go over how to make incredible thumbnails. Larry is a great gaming channel and a live streamer, and we're going to be giving him a bunch of advice on how to proceed. So thank you very much for becoming my patron. I have not gotten any patrons this week, so if you guys are interested in becoming my patron, feel free to join my Patreon. That's how I'm keeping this operation going. I coach YouTubers, and I provide legendary channel reviews like the one I'm going to be doing later on in the session. And if you're interested in becoming my patron, I'm posting the link for you guys in chat right now. And I've got a $25 level, a $5 level, as well as a $150 level for one-on-one coaching if you guys are interested in that. Beautiful. So let's keep going through the thumbnail principles that we were talking about a moment ago. Great. So the next one here is going to be, I'm gonna briefly go over these next couple because I think a lot of these are kind of inherent and we've already covered them. But make sure that you're accurately representing your content. So we already talked about that earlier. Do not misrepresent, do not mislead with your content. So I would say don't use clickbait is what I consider misrepresentation. So don't misrepresent your content in your thumbnail. That is a terrible thing to do. Do not do that. The number 6 one here is stand out with originality. So one thing that we do on TGN, which I think is really, really effective, is we have a, oops, that is not what I'm looking to do. Let me pull up TGN. We have a graphics artist that creates custom graphics for us for our thumbnail. So these are like custom drawings of these characters from this game. And so we have one-of-a-kind looking thumbnails because literally the versions of the characters from this game that you see in the thumbnail are unique. So you want to stand out with originality, you want to stand out and make your thumbnail unique versus your competitors. So that's one way that we're standing out from our competitors, despite the fact that our thumbnail format is very traditional, right? Text on the left, with a high contrast background with character on the right. A very, very traditional sort of format. But what you're gonna wanna do to stand out with originality, so let's say that your channel is all about Hollow Knight. That's one of the games that one of my patrons is covering, Relia, who's in chat right now. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're not gonna wanna do this. You're gonna wanna go to incognito window, and you're gonna wanna go to YouTube. And you're gonna wanna look at the competing thumbnails out there that you're battling against. Because remember what I said earlier, every single thumbnail that you are creating on YouTube is fighting for space. It's fighting for real estate on YouTube. So you wanna look at the competitors that you are trying to beat for your particular genre. And we're not gonna do Hollow Knight, let's do homesteading. Because I think off-grid is, homesteading off the grid. I think off-grid is here in chat right now. So homesteading off the grid, let's say that that's your subject. And what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down on YouTube and you're going to take note of the way, actually we're just going to do homesteading because I think that pulled up a specific channel. Great. And if your subject is homesteading, you're going to look at all the homesteading thumbnails and you're going to take note of which ones are at the top and what attributes they have, what colors that they have in their thumbnails, how they're focusing on specific subjects, what formats are working well and which ones are not. And you are going to, when you create, here's Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, and when you create your thumbnail, you're going to want yours to look significantly different than your competitors and to stand out. So let's say that so as you go down the list, what you're going to do is you're going to write down the top 5 attributes of the competing thumbnails that are working, okay? That's something that you're going to do. And you're going to say if you can use some of those top attributes in your thumbnails moving forward. Then you are going to look at things like I talked about earlier, what colors are they using? What composition are they using? How is their thumbnail to title combinations working? Etc. And you are going to try to differentiate yourself from your competitors so that you stand out. And that's going to be really, really important. Like here in homesteading, all of these thumbnails look really natural and they have, you know, they're showing the outdoors and it's generally got a friendly looking face and it looks honest. So perhaps you could stand out by having some brighter, more vibrant colors within this space. Perhaps a lot of these thumbnails have 2 to 3 focus points. Perhaps only having a single focus in your thumbnail like Off Grid with Doug and Stacy has could be something that could work, etc. Nobody's drawing a singular focus in their thumbnails effectively here, so perhaps that's something that you could do with a circle arrow, blah, blah, blah. So you want to be unique, you want to stand out, you want to look at your competitors, and you want to put your thumbnails that you're creating side by side with your competitors because of this reason right here from the tweet. That viewers will take less than 2 seconds to decide whether they're going to click your thumbnail, and if they don't click, your video's dead. Cool? All right, we've got more concepts to cover. Echo Gaming is here. Echo Gaming, what's up? Good to see you in chat. What's good, Echo Gaming? We're more than halfway through. So another concept here, obviously, if you want to put your face or use faces in your thumbnail, faces generate more clicks, obviously. Here's another one. Appealing to a broad audience is critically important with your thumbnails. So what I mean by that is, don't tell jokes in your thumbnail is a huge thing that that is really important to keep in mind. I've advised some of my patrons, they're trying to tell a funny joke in their thumbnail. They're like, look, my audience, they're gonna get this funny joke. Like, I'm gonna, you know, tell this inside joke with this particular community, and it's hilarious. And perhaps it really truly is hilarious. But the bottom line is, if you tell a joke through your thumbnail, or if you show something too niche that only your audience will get through your thumbnail, then only your audience that you currently have is going to potentially click that thumbnail. And you aren't going to acquire new audience. And you are decreasing your click-through rate on your thumbnail. So what you want to do is you want to appeal to a broad audience as much as possible. So that means don't tell jokes, don't tell inside references in your thumbnail. Go broad with your thumbnail. You want to go to the broadest audience possible so that you can grow your audience as fast as you can. YouTube, you want to give YouTube the opportunity to extend your audience, to grow your audience, to give you as many impressions as possible with a high click-through rate. And so telling jokes, telling things that only a small number of people would understand through your thumbnail is going to decrease your performance, okay? There's just two more little points that I want to make here. And these are small little nitpicky things, but well, actually, one of them's a nitpicky thing. The other thing is a major thing. So with your thumbnails on YouTube, you have real estate that looks like this, right? You've got your real estate right here. And what is it that is in the bottom right-hand corner right down here? What is right down here? And that is, and on mobile, it's really big. On mobile, it's about this big. And on desktop, it's about this big, down here in the corner. And what's down there in that corner? It is the numbers as to how long your video is. It's that video length down in the corner. So you want to make sure that you avoid this real estate, this bottom right-hand corner of your thumbnail as much as you possibly can, because those numbers will literally obstruct the content of your thumbnail. If you put any content down here in the bottom right-hand corner, it will obstruct it. And if you do a live stream, there's actually like a set reminder area right here as well that will obstruct your thumbnail too. So generally speaking, you want to avoid as much as you can that bottom right-hand corner because it will be obstructed on mobile. Don't put any super important elements there. Okay, so, and also if you're creating live stream thumbnails, try to go above the lower thirds of your thumbnail as much as you possibly can. Try to be above this line with as much of your content as you possibly can have in your thumbnail, because it will be obstructed by YouTube elements. So that's generally speaking why people put faces on the right-hand side of their thumbnail, and they put the bottom of the body of that character on the right-hand side of their thumbnail, because it doesn't matter if it's obstructed by the number down here. It's okay if you lose the bottom part of their body because their face is going to be sticking out the top, right? And that's also generally why pro YouTubers will put text up here on their thumbnails, because there's a level of obstruction that's going to happen right here if you're doing a live stream, etc., with different UI elements, etc. So that's generally why that is a great thumbnail composition, is to have text on the left-hand side over here, because generally you're going to have less obstruction here, and having a face right here on the right-hand side as well, with the lower portions of the body, maybe the shoulders, maybe the chest down here, because the numbers will obstruct it in that spot. Okay, so let me show you I'm sure you love, not my body. Well, maybe Darsizzle Offshore, the #1. Darsizzle Offshore is the #1 female angler on YouTube. #1 female angler. Okay. I don't know how old that bit's getting. I guess it's getting pretty old. But let me show you some examples of obstructing the body and how that can work pretty effectively. And how you can take that into account. We use this rule on TGN. Look, you don't have to do it yourself. You don't have to use this, but we generally use this format. Check it out here. So see how the numbers here on these, here, let me zoom in so you guys can see it. It's just a best practice that you can think about, right? See how the number is obstructing the thumbnail just a little bit down here in the corner? And if you're on mobile, it'll obstruct it like this big on the corner of this thumbnail. We keep the text right here so it's non-obstructed, and we generally keep the text above that lower thirds of the thumbnail here, and then the character's face is generally visible above that. So it doesn't matter if you obstruct the bottom of their body, that is not an important element, and if this was a live streaming thumbnail, this portion would be gone as well. So generally that format works out pretty well, generally speaking. And generally too, of course, people are reading left to right, and so that's another thing to think about with the flow of your thumbnail. Putting the text on the left and then the subject related to the text on the right is generally a good visual flow left to right. And so if you look at my thumbnails on my channel, I do something similar. My thumbnails are not godlike, they're just okay. But my thumbnails are following a similar format where you can see I'm even like circle arrowing on this thumbnail here, but as you can see, it's how to make the best YouTube thumbnails. And then down here in the bottom right hand side, if I wasn't live, this thumbnail right here would have an obstructions right here, and notice I don't have any important elements there. And in this thumbnail, I'm using a lot of the principles I just taught you guys, right? Creating a singular focus of the thumbnail here, making sure that I am making it clear what the subject matter of this video is. I was sure to blow up that particular thumbnail and circle arrow that. You guys can see this is like an infamous type of thumbnail, as you can see right here. So you guys are not asking what that is. You're asking maybe why I have chosen that AliA thumbnail to talk about in this video, etc. So I use a lot of my own thumbnail principles in my own thumbnails. Notice the same thing is the case here. This Reddit character is not obstructed here in the bottom corner. You can still see it's the Reddit guy. You can still read the text, etc. So the bottom right-hand corner and the real estate you have available rules, I'm following those on my thumbnails as well. And the last thing I'll tell you, and then we're gonna go do a legendary channel review for Helmets, a YouTuber who has become my patron. Checks in the mail, Andrew? Checks in the mail for what, Darcizzle? I don't get it. Oh yeah, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, here's the last thing that you want to do, and this is something that John points out that is really critical, and I absolutely agree with John. John's my by the way, he's one of my he's one of the managers on my team, who manages our YouTube channels. But John says don't wait to create, and I think that this is something that is critically important to all of you guys. If you are looking to make a piece of content, do not wait to create the thumbnail. You're spending 4 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, it depends, on creating all the shoutouts, got it, on creating a piece of content. So why is it that you're gonna just wait until the last moment to create a thumbnail for that piece of content? If your click-through rate is literally the most important element of the success of your video, then why are you going to wait to create that piece of the equation? And so, don't wait to create is something critically important. When you're planning your content ahead of time, be thinking, is this piece of content something that will make for a great thumbnail? This is something that I've had to educate traditional content producers about this kind of thinking in the past, because generally speaking, people that produce content are thinking, I'm gonna make a great video first, and then later on, I'll make a great thumbnail for that video. Makes sense. But YouTube is the opposite of that. You need to be thinking about how you can make a great thumbnail first. So your first step is going to be, how do I make a great thumbnail? When you're thinking about your content strategy on YouTube, is the thing I'm creating content about thumbnailable? Then you can think second about, okay, how can I make a good video to go along with that thumbnail concept? And I take this a little bit further than I think somebody like John does, but this is the way that I think YouTubers should be thinking about their content right now. Think about your thumbnail first, then think about the video you could create for that thumbnail second. I know that that sounds absolutely ridiculous. But I'm gonna tell you right now, thumbnails are more important than good videos. If you can create, and I've talked about this before, if you can create, what's the idiom I always use? It's not an idiom. Oh yeah, this is the one. A great video with a bad thumbnail is not going to do as well as a bad video with a great thumbnail. That's just the way that it is. Okay? So your thumbnail is more important than your actual video. So if you can think about creating your thumbnail first, then create a video that corresponds with that video second, that is a great thought process to go through. And how do you do that? You use, of course, my five magical content values. In order to create a great thumbnail, you have to communicate that value through the thumbnail, and that's how you do it, right? And that value, you guys know the content values. That thumbnail needs to have new in it, it needs to have best in it, it needs to have unique in it, it needs to have learning in it, or it needs to have challenge in it. And if you can start with these content values, and then you can plan out which of these content values you are going to communicate in your thumbnails, and you can check off, let's say my thumbnail is going to have new in it, it's going to have a challenge in it, and learning in it. Then after you decide which values are going to be in your thumbnail, then what do you do after that? You go actually create the video after you decide which values are going to be in your thumbnail. I'm sorry, but that's just the way YouTube is designed now. Click-through rate is that important, click-through rate is that critical, and so it's thumbnail first, then video second. That was 42 minutes on how to create incredible thumbnails. If you didn't watch the beginning part of that, go back and watch it. Thumbnail lesson complete. Whew. Cheers to all of you. I hope you guys got value out of that. I put crap loads of effort into putting these together for you, but I hope that you guys found value in that presentation. And now, what we're gonna do next is we are going to take a look at our boy Larry Napier's channel, one of my most recent patrons, and we are going to do a legendary channel review for him. Cheers. That's good stuff. And this channel is really interesting. This guy dresses up as freaking Darth Vader when he live streams. You guys are gonna think this is interesting. And we're gonna talk about in this channel review a number of different things. We're gonna talk about in this channel review the concept of creating a character that you are playing, and whether you should create a full-blown character or an impersonation, whether you should make a character based on yourself or not, and whether that can work, and I'll show some examples of that. And we're also going to talk about which platforms are viable for growing creators that are trying to break out and are trying to figure themselves out. These are going to be really important themes that we're going to talk about in this legendary channel review today. So I'm really looking forward to that. So yes, indeed. So Darstizzle Offshore says, your distinction between clickbait and not clickbait is if the image is in the video, then it's not clickbait? Sure, I mean, if it's literally in your video, you are literally showing something that's in your video thumbnail, so that is not clickbait at all. So I agree with that, Darstizzle. That is an ice cold way to ensure that you're not misleading your audience or deceiving them. 100%. Rich Silva, good to see you in Periscope chat. I can call you Havoc or Helmets. You got it. We'll call you Helmets. No problem. I don't need to use your name. Cheers. Okay. Helmets. You guys are gonna see precisely why this guy is called Helmets. He dresses up as Darth Vader in his live streams, and this is incredibly interesting. Let's commence a legendary channel review, shall we? Yes, let's. So first things first, this is our creator right here. His name is Helmets. And Helmets is a live streamer, primarily, but also creates videos along the way. And as you can see from this piece of content, he is dressed up as none other than freaking Darth Vader. When I saw this, I died, man. He's dressed up as Darth Vader in his live streams. And this is a talent that is someone who's able to do voices, able to do impersonations, able to be funny, wants to be really creative, and use unique as a value to stand out in an incredibly crowded space. So before we go into this channel review, I want you guys to be clear. This is very much a startup creator. This is somebody that's really getting going. And so I want to provide really clear advice on which platforms and which methods of tapping into platforms you can break out in right now. We're gonna talk about big growth opportunities with these different platforms. That's critically important. And also we're gonna talk about how do you make the distinction between yourself and a character that you're playing, like Darth Rager here in this particular video, and how do you sustain such a thing? Because there are some creators out there that have created a character that have become massively successful, and there are different levels of being a character that can work or not work and are sustainable or not. And I can tell you from experience, being someone that did theater in high school, I used to play characters, do voices, and when I started on YouTube, I was playing a character. And I would start every live stream out as this sort of like wrestling-like character who had a fedora and sunglasses on. And I would start every live stream and I would go, boom, sucker! And I'd be this like super amped up character who was playing Star Wars games, and I was just going totally ham, and I was just going crazy and playing the game and being this insane character and going nuts for my entire live stream. And I can tell you that it is incredibly difficult to maintain a character like that throughout an entire live stream. And so this is a challenge that I'm going to help Helmet overcome. And look at this, I am wearing the Darth Vader shirt in honor of this patron today. All right, so there you go. So that's sort of the background on this creator. And this creator is going to potentially purchase more costumes, dress up like Master Chief, potentially, and other characters, and play video games as these characters to entertain audiences around the world. So how can you be successful with this? So right now, this creator, Helmets, has a very limited following on Mixer, currently live streaming on Twitch as well, and has a limited sort of following on YouTube, having done only some kind of creative content on YouTube. Let me give you a better idea of the kind of crazy stuff this guy's willing to do. Check it out. He dressed up like a freaking fox right here in this video. So it's the whole costumes bit, dressing up in costume and doing characters. I don't know, I think it's pretty entertaining. You have Master Chief arriving tomorrow, there you go. So it's a Jack Dude, right? Jack Dude dressing up in costume. He streams on Twitch as well as Mixer. And also he did this sort of comedy video here where he's playing this like Arnold Schwarzenegger-like character in this video. So he can do voices, he can do characters, etc. Sure, if you guys would like a link, I'm happy to link the channels here. And feel free to follow this creator. Feel free to follow Helmets here. There, that's the Mixer and that's the Twitch links. Great. So this is, as you guys can see, he made a joke about in this video about shake weights. So that's the idea. That gives you guys a feel for this creator and what they're all about. So I'm just going to continue to play this footage of Darth Rager in the background while we talk about the strategies. So first things first. You are trying to break into a space playing extremely saturated games like Fortnite and these different titles. So right now, Helmets, you are competing against 2.2 million people that are currently streaming Fortnite. That is the most competitive title in the entire world. So in order to break through, unique is the only way that you're going to break through. Because doing content that is new, there's no way that you're going to get these content out faster than anyone else. You are not going to have new value. So we can say that new value is off the table for you. There's just no way you can be faster than everyone else in bringing new content for popular games. So new is off the table. Being the best at these games, let's be real, you are not going to be the best at these games either. Doing learning content is extremely difficult for creators right now because there's literally tens of thousands of people that are teaching people how to do learning content for Fortnite. So with extremely saturated trends like Fortnite or PUBG or any other popular games that you may be looking to play, you have two types of value that you can bring that can help you be successful. One of them is unique and the other one is challenge, okay? And so that's, I think, where you can shine is with these two values, unique and challenge. This is a way for you to break through. And certainly being a character and dressing up in costume is a unique challenge in and of itself. So I think that you can play off of these two values, unique and challenge, as your two primary values. Okay, so let's be real. You're tiny right now. You have barely any traction. So what you should be doing, instead of committing to one platform or the other, you should very, very seriously. You can't even see with the helmet on, right? So that is, you can't even see with your own helmet on, so that is a challenge right there. You should be streaming to multiple platforms simultaneously using Restream.io as you are trying to break out and you're trying to figure out which platform it is that you want to stream on. So I keep talking about Restream.io. I've got a link in my description on YouTube to check out Restream, but you should be, to use Gary V's terminology, you should be tasting these platforms, I guess is one way to say it. You should be sampling the platforms. Really, what you're doing is you need to test all of these platforms to see which one's a best fit for you, and perhaps don't commit to any of these platforms at any point. And I think that at your size, you should be simultaneously live streaming to all of the major live streaming platforms simultaneously as a small creator to maximize your potential reach. For example, you Helmets, you discovered me through Twitch. Because I decided to live stream to my Twitch avenue, I got a new client, you. Because I decided to use Restream. You can acquire new viewers because you use Restream as well. So you should be live streaming on Twitch Periscope, Mixer, Facebook Gaming, and YouTube simultaneously, there is no reason at your size, when you don't have an exclusivity agreement with any of these platforms currently, maybe you do, you haven't told me about that, there's no reason why you should commit to any of these platforms specifically. You should be restreaming to all of them simultaneously, okay? And you're confused about exclusivity clause on Twitch. I don't know if you are a Twitch partner yet, but if you have not signed an agreement with Twitch or signed an agreement with any of these platforms that you have signed exclusivity to those platforms and you specifically see an exclusivity clause in your agreement, you do not have exclusivity unless you have signed a legal document for those platforms. So just because you're on one of these platforms doesn't mean that you have some sort of exclusivity commitment to those platforms. You need to check your agreement to find out, and if you're confused about your exclusivity, be sure to contact the support teams for these platforms to ensure whether you to see whether you have exclusivity or not. For example, I do not exclusively have to give Twitch a 24-hour window on my content because my agreement I have with Twitch doesn't state that. I have an ancient agreement with Twitch that's 7 years old. So that's why I don't have exclusivity in my partnership agreement with Twitch. Does yours have exclusivity? I don't know. Have you even signed a partnership agreement with them? I don't know. People that think that they need to be exclusive to Twitch in the first 24 hours, check your actual agreement. Check what you have signed, check what you have agreed to, and determine whether that exclusivity actually exists before you assume that it exists and you don't take advantage of all of these streaming platforms that you could be taking advantage of, okay? Don't leave views on the table, don't leave audience on the table. This is critical. Okay, another thing that you need to very seriously consider, helmets, is you need to very seriously consider Facebook gaming right now. Facebook gaming, I consider Facebook gaming to be Facebook gaming and Mixer to be the #1 and #2 most lucrative potential opportunities for a new streamer to grow. And we talked about it yesterday with our social media strategy live stream, but Facebook allows you to punch through in the algorithm in a number of ways without paying any money. So first things first, on Facebook right now, live content is the #1 most preferred content by the Facebook algorithm. And so you can live stream here for free, and you can sign up for their partnership program as soon as possible. Okay, the second important thing about Facebook is that you don't have to pay to get organic traction on Facebook right now if you are doing gaming live streams because they're trying to grow their gaming presence. So that's something that's really, really important about Facebook right now that you should take into consideration. And number 3 is there are groups for every single game out there on Facebook that you can reach to grow your audience on Facebook so that you can potentially grow even more, even faster on Facebook. So Facebook gaming is a huge opportunity for new streamers. I would say that right now, the 2 platforms I would recommend for new streamers and for new gaming creators, they are not, for streamers especially, it's not Twitch. 100% it's not Twitch. Twitch is the worst platform for new creators right now. The platforms I would recommend for new streamers are Mixer, as well as Facebook Gaming. These are platforms that are not highly saturated, but they are growing. And I think that these are platforms that you should be focusing on more so than any other platform. And of course, YouTube. You would add YouTube to the list because YouTube has the most discoverability. But these are going to be your top platforms to focus on. I would say that Twitch is not going to be one of the most important platforms for you to focus on to grow right now. Twitch is super saturated. Twitch is the most difficult platform to grow on as a live streamer. And so I would say Facebook, Mixer, YouTube, really important. And why not throw, with Restream.io, why not throw Periscope in the mix through restreaming, right? There's no reason why you shouldn't be on Periscope. But don't count on having some big career on Twitch. Twitch is just incredibly difficult. I highly recommend not chasing the Twitch dream right now as a creator. Sorry, everybody who's trying to chase the dream on Twitch, but Twitch is the most competitive streaming platform, and it is incredibly difficult to break through. I've talked about that endlessly on my streams. Okay, so let's talk about your character that you have created. you do not have an exclusivity agreement with Twitch. Well, then there you go. Then you should be restreaming. 100% you should be restreaming if you don't have an exclusivity agreement with Twitch, of course. Why would you leave viewership off the table? So the other part here, and let me turn off this event list here. There we go. The other thing that you need to be thinking about is your character. So you've got this one character here, Darth Rager, and you may have another character here with Master Chief. But I want you to consider how you can have longevity with those characters and how you can create. Should you stream to Facebook when you restream? Yeah, you have to pay money for Restream.io, and then you can stream to Facebook. You have to pay money for it. It's a small monthly subscription, and then you can stream to Facebook. That's how I'm doing it. It is worth it to stream to Facebook, trust me. Especially if you're a new streamer trying to break in. So you pay a little bit of money to Restream.io. KZ, it's good to see you in YouTube chat. So here's the thing about maintaining a character. If you're trying to maintain a character, you're trying to maintain being Darth Rager or whatever. If you want to reference a character, you are going to need to give your character some sort of unique attributes. What is unique about Darth Rager that is different than Darth Vader? What is going to be unique about your Master Chief character that is different than the main Master Chief, the regular Master Chief? Because just doing an impression of that character is not sustainable over time. People are gonna see you do the impression and then they're gonna get tired of the impression. They're gonna get just tired of you seeing you dressed up as Vader. It's gonna get old real fast. So if you are going to do an impression of a character like this, you need to be sure to do a unique version of Darth Rager. Needs to be significantly different than Darth Vader in some sort of tangible way. That is really, really important. That is really important. Do I know of Phase 5? No, I'm not familiar with Phase 5. So you need to make it significantly different. So is Darth Rager angrier than Darth Vader? Is Darth Rager an intellectual? Is Darth Rager your professor for gaming that's gonna teach you everything you need to know about gaming? Is Darth Rager actually a total wuss? What is unique about Darth Rager that's different than Darth Vader? You need to create that unique value for that character. Just doing Darth Vader is not going to work for you. Live streaming while doing a voice, and I think you messaged me about this, while doing a voice the entire time, like an impression voice, is going to be nearly impossible. I know because I have, in my experience, I'll pull it up for you right here. I did on YouTube, I did Awall, Emperor. I've done an Emperor Palpatine, impression while I was playing a game, and it was really, really difficult to do. It was really difficult to do. I was, let's see, Heroes of the Storm Palpatine. Let me see if this video, I might have unlisted it on YouTube. Here we go. Here's a video of me playing Heroes of the Storm as Emperor Palpatine for an entire video. If you guys want to see this, this is a classic Awall video. Here, I'll link it in chat. But here I am in the top corner doing this sort of Emperor Palpatine impression, which I think is a pretty good impression. You want to hear? You want to see it? Here, I'll play the video for you guys so you can hear the audio. But the point of me showing this to you is to show you that that it is extremely difficult to do an impression for an extended period of time in a video. Check this out.
Choose the Death Star. Soon you will feel the power of this fully operational battle station. Welcome, my friends.
Yeah, so there you go. You get the point. I was doing an Emperor Palpatine impression because I thought it was funny. So I can definitely relate to you wanting to do voices and you wanting to be funny and do Star Wars references with other games. Been there, done that. This video got like 9,000 views when I did that impression. And the point of me showing you this piece of content is to tell you that obviously doing a voice for an entire video is nearly impossible. I was only able to do that Palpatine voice for 20 minutes. So you need to, if you are going to be a character that is a reference to yourself in some way, that is not some kind of voice. It needs to be your voice optimally. and doing a voice doesn't make sense. I think you know that. So let's talk a bit more about how you can experiment and discover the right character, how you can experiment and find what is going to truly work for you. And so I think it's important that you use your YouTube channel to experiment with different characters and share those characters that you're doing like a quick short with friends and family and with us as a creator community here, and we can give you feedback on the characters and which ones we think are best and think are most funny. Instead of having to sustain that character for an entire live stream, why not test it on YouTube, do a VOD, do the ultimate version of that character being as funny as possible, and get feedback from the community and get feedback from your peers before trying to live stream as that character for an extended period of time. That will be incredibly difficult to do, right? So I think that YouTube will be your best playground to discover your character and to discover your unique character. And so let me share with you a couple examples of people that are doing characters extremely effectively that I think that you can draw from. And here's somebody, obviously Dr. Disrespect is an obvious example. Dr. Disrespect is obviously playing a character his entire video. Dr. Disrespect, like you, is super jacked, but he's playing a character the entire time. But the reason why Dr. Disrespect's character works is that it is his regular voice. It is him, essentially, in costume, but an amplified version of himself. It is a more aggressive version of himself. It's speed, violence, momentum, etc. But it's his voice. It's just him in costume. And he's just emphasizing certain elements of his personality that exist. He was around in the 1980s. That is based on truth. He loves video games. That is based on truth. He loves winning in video games. That is based on truth. Everything about this character is based on true attributes of the actual guy behind the character. It's just amplified elements of his character here that make him incredibly interesting and successful and take him to the next level and make him a legendary streaming character that he's able to maintain for an extended period of time. He's not doing a voice the whole time. He's not doing an impression of someone the whole time. That would not be sustainable. Okay, so Dr. Disrespect is an example that you can look to as to how to effectively do a character, and how when you create a character, that character needs to be based in truth about you as a person, about you as a personality. It can't be based in fantasy. And being Darth Vader or being, Master Chief, that is based in fantasy. That is not based in truth. So if you're going to create a character that it is those things that you are going to be throughout your live stream, you need to create one that is based on your truth, okay? I think that's really, really important for you to realize in these early stages when you're discovering your character. And I'm going to share an example with you guys. If you guys haven't already seen this channel, his name is KZ, you recently created a Twitter account for your YouTube channel, but is that even important? Oh my freaking god, yes. Yeah, Darcesal Offshore is saying it. Creating a Twitter account is the most important social media platform that you should be active on. And so if you're looking to grow on Twitter, I would highly recommend that you watch the live stream that I dropped yesterday with a special guest, Andrew Perrin, where we talked all about, here it is right here, where we talked about all about social media strategy. Check it out. Here's the video on that. But Twitter is the most critical social platform for you to be on. Twitter as well as Reddit are the two most critical social media platforms, in my opinion, for YouTube creators. So here's another example, Hello Greedo, which kind of is doing something like what you're doing, Helmets. But this is another example I would like you to take inspiration from if you're not already familiar with Hello Greedo. So this is a creator that wears a Stormtrooper helmet throughout in all of their content. And that is an incredible challenge. And they also play video games while they're wearing that Stormtrooper helmet. So let me share this with you. Here is his live stream right here, right? Hello Greedo is a great creator. And here he is in the corner. He, like you, is wearing a Star Wars character's helmet while he is playing the game the entire time. But Hello Greedo is not a Stormtrooper. Hello Greedo is not a Star Wars character. Hello Greedo is a guy. He is a Star Wars fan. And so his content is from the perspective of him as a regular human being who just happens to love Star Wars. And the character that he's created, his name is Hello Greedo. And his character that he's created, yes, wears a stormtrooper helmet while he's playing video games and while he is, and I'll share this link for you guys if you guys want to check it out. He's a fantastic creator. He's just absolutely wonderful. But the point of me showing you Hello Greedo and anybody else that's considering doing a character on their channel is that his character is based in truth on the man behind the helmet here, right? It's based on truth. Truth, truth, truth. This is not a fantastical character that he's created. So he is a real guy that is an incredible Star Wars fan. And his audience loves him because he's a true Star Wars fan. And so the fact that his character is based on truth, it's based on reality. He's actually able, potentially, because he's using this character, to be even more real and be even more engaging through this character as a Star Wars superfan. And as a result, Hello Greedo has 157 patrons that are supporting him on Patreon, and I believe that he does, and he's got these super chats as you can see popping up on the screen, and Hello Greedo is a full-time YouTuber as a result. So the value that he's providing is he's delivering honesty, he's delivering truth, he's delivering super fandom, he's delivering learning content through this character that you can see here, but this character is based on truth. So so the whole point of me telling you this lesson over and over and over again, Helmet, is that you should not be thinking about doing characters or caricatures as your primary strategy for your channel. You should be thinking about creating characters that maybe are inspired by or look like popular video game characters or pop culture characters, but they should be based on your truth as a person and as a human being, and you should be working on developing that truth as the foundation of your character and the foundation of your content, okay? So take these examples of success of people that have pulled this off and have been incredibly successful with that as a guiding light, as a guiding example of how you can be successful being a caricature or being a character without doing impressions of a character. He's not doing an impression of a stormtrooper here. A very, very, very important distinction to make that I would like you to make early in your creation career. Geo Time, it's great to see you, and Zaz Axe, good to see you in chat as well. Yeah, you have a stormtrooper coming up that's name is Can't Aim. That's hilarious, right? Your character of Can't Aim, what is their unique attribute? You need to determine that. It can't just be a stormtrooper, right? It needs to be something that's unique and based on your unique attributes as a person. Don't think bits, 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 and gimmicks, gimmicks, gimmicks. Think truth, think value. And then your character should be helping you deliver more value to your audience, right? Your character shouldn't be all of the value for your audience. That was the last thing I had written down here I want to tell you. Your character should be helping you deliver more value to your audience. The character should not be all of your value for your audience. Please take that to heart, anybody who's doing a character. I'll say it one more time. The character should be giving more value to your audience. The character that you're playing on your channel should not be giving all of the value. I'm sorry I repeated it 3 times, but I think it's really important for you to remember helmets. That is what is happening with Dr. Disrespect. His character is allowing him to deliver more value of being speed, violence, momentum, etc., being more exciting and being more hardcore and more funny. It's allowing him to provide more value. His character is not all of his value, right? It's enhancing his value that he provides as a personality. Okay? The same thing is that way for Hello Greedo. His intelligent learning content, his critiques of the Star Wars franchise, his character of Hello Greedo is allowing him to provide more value to his audience. Him wearing his stormtrooper value is not all of the value. It's critically important to remember when you're playing a character. Legendary channel review complete. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We talked about thumbnails for 42 minutes. I did a 35-minute or so legendary channel review. And helmets, I will continue to help you through Discord and to help you through my Patreon. So don't worry, I'm going to continue to help you succeed. This was just the beginning of our path in working together. And if any of you guys are interested in becoming my patron, I have been pretty short on new patrons this month, so if you're interested in becoming a patron, I've got a $5 Patreon tier, if you're interested in that, where I can provide you with advice on your channel, and you can hit me up on Discord. I can do legendary channel reviews for you, as well as priority advice through my $25 patron tier, if you're looking at potentially getting my advice there. And I also have a coaching tier at $150 per month, and I will do one-on-one coaching with you and provide you with customized advice to help you become more successful. I've got a smaller creator as well as a larger creator there. And if you're interested in other services and what have you, you can contact me directly. I also coach media companies, tech startups, as well as small businesses as well outside of my Patreon. So if you guys are interested in those services and me helping you grow your channel directly, helping you grow your online business, I am here to help. And my Patreon is all about that. A big thank you to Helmets for becoming my patron. And I would encourage all of you guys, if you guys are interested, to become my patron, and you guys could potentially show up on the Awall of Fame right up here. Cool. That was it for the live stream today. I hope you guys got value out of it, and I'm going to be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time as always, and tomorrow's live stream, I believe, is about getting discovered as a gaming channel, specifically on the interwebs, an incredibly competitive space that I want to give you guys some insights, having grown gaming channels from scratch to hundreds of thousands, millions, etc. of views, millions of subscribers, over 1 billion views on gaming channels specifically. I am here to help you guys get your gaming channel found and discovered. And I'm going to talk to you about some tactics to make that happen on the stream tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day. And I hope that all of you guys can continue to grow and can continue to take the advice that I'm giving and continue to stay positive and work towards that dream of doing what you love each and every day on the interwebs. Adios amigos, keep creating. Thank you for your support. See you in the next live stream. Bye-bye.